Hey there people of the internet, my name is Sivana and welcome to my studio. This week's video is pretty special. I got commissioned by this lovely man named Thomas to draw character portraits for his D&D party. There are 6 of them and the whole process took nearly 40 hours to complete, so since this is a long one there won't be a whole lot of editing. I'm basically just going to talk the whole time and there won't be as many pop-ups or me's like there are usually. To start off we have Thomas's character, Fen, the Water Genasi Spore Druid. Thomas was so wonderful to work with and gave me all of these great reference pictures of all the characters, even their Hero Forge minis, and a Word document full of their personality and backstory. This was a huge help in capturing their vibe and making them as perfect as I could. I don't have the recordings of the initial sketches because it was a lot of trial and error and sending them to Thomas for review, but each sketch process took about an hour. For most of the voiceover, I'm just going to read off the descriptors that Thomas wrote for each character, and then the rest will just be me talking about what I think about the drawing. You know how it goes. Fen Thistlewick, a Water Genasi Druid Circle of the Spores. He is about 6 feet tall, teal skin, teal eyes, blue hair which flows up as if it's in water at all times, kind of looking like a troll doll. He's thin and fit, young face, cute and boyish, about 20 years old, slightly pointed elf ears, and because of his time in the Shadowfell, his fingers and hands have a slightly gray ashiness to them, almost like he dipped his hand in a bucket of ash, absorbing some of the shadow. He wears mostly white robes with purple trim, clean looking with finer details in the trim, belted around the waist in purple fabric, leather sandals and leather bags and satchels on his hip attached to the belt, purple fabric braided headband around his forehead. He carries with him a gnarled wooden staff with a light blue-gray color, and an ornate-looking top, which I just used the crystal staff that he sent me because I thought it looked really cool. There are a few purple fey butterflies which are summoned by Fen. They are slightly see-through and glowing with purple glowing magic swirling around them. His robes are blowing in the wind a bit as he holds up his hands to entice a butterfly to land on it. He is a kid at heart, a bit goofy, kind, and loves to smile and make people laugh. Fen was orphaned as a child and raised by a pair of non-magical humans in a small village. His parents owned a tavern with rooms for rent upstairs, so Fen grew up surrounded by people, although he's always been a bit socially awkward. After studying druidism at a local school, he joined a small druid circle on his island. After 2 years, he was sent out into the world on a sort of walkabout to learn more about the magic of the land. It was on this trip that he ran into Leo at a temple. Leo had heard a message from his god to find the Genasi, so he recruited Fen for his mission. Fen figured he was supposed to be exploring the world, so why not accept a holy mission and sail around for a while? After visiting the Shadowfell, in which he was the only one of the group who enjoyed the mission, Fen learned the spell Disguise Self, which he uses often, even though his charisma and deception scores are very low. So he rarely fools anyone, leading to hilarious hijinks. Since being on this adventure, he has grown very close to Pietr, and the two have formed a relationship, though he fears once the adventure is over, the relationship too will end. His watery hair is probably my favorite part of this piece. I'm just really proud of the way I was able to capture the flowiness, that it kind of looks like water, but it's also hair suspended in water. It's just really pretty. I also spent probably way too much time on these gosh dang butterflies. I'm really happy with how they turned out, but it was a journey to get there because I just kept thinking, no, that's too much, or no, that's not enough, and it was a mess. I also went very painterly with a lot of the clothing throughout these drawings, and his robes were a lot of fun because they were white, but not pure white. They were like the palest purple I could use, like a purpley gray, and I really like them. They're super pretty. Oh, and don't worry, you will learn about who Leo and Pietr are as I continue this video. Side note, I didn't really do these in any specific order other than doing Thomas's character first as he was the commissioner. So when Thomas sent me this commission request, I was really excited about the Circle of Spores Druid because I have one as well, and so when I think of spores, I think of mushroom and fungus and plants and stuff, but his Circle of Spores Druid is more using like airborne spores, at least I think so, like more of like the dark shadowy part from the Shadowfell, and I think that's really cool. And I was wondering like if he wanted to incorporate any of the spores into the artwork, and he said, no, just some dark shadowy stuff around my staff and then the purple fey butterflies, and I'm like, that's cool, that's pretty. I love it. I think it all looks really cohesive, but I miss mushrooms. I like mushrooms. They're cute. If you would like to commission me to draw your characters or your friends' characters or a specific scene from your campaign or anything else that you would like, you can contact me through my email that is down in the description and we can discuss prices. All of the links are in the description. Go check it out. Go check me out. Thank you. I think this is going to end up being the longest video. Possibly. I think Down the Rabbit Hole was pretty long, but I didn't talk the entire time back then, because that was like, what, 2 years ago? Jeez, it's been a while. And then I think the unboxing of the Hidden Fates, like Pokemon packs, and then the drawing of Team Rocket afterward, I think that one was pretty long, but I can't remember at this exact moment, but this is gonna be like 40 minutes nearly, and I even sped up the speed draws to times 60, which like the most I've done is times 50, but the Pokemon, my Phaseoins that I do are usually at like times 35 or 40. So that's how long this was for me to have to speed it up that much to try and make a comfortable video, and it's still too long because I'm still having to talk for 40 minutes. I don't like talking this long. Why have I done this to myself? How do YouTubers do this? Next is Guidefriend, the Warforged Artificer, and for anyone who isn't familiar, Warforged are robots from the Eberron setting, also known as automatons in the Critical Role world. They are semi-sentient beings made from science and magic. I say semi-sentient because it just depends on how you want to play one, whether it be like a full person with a soul in a robot body, or an AI that is just following programming and isn't really a person. It's up to you. I think I did Guidefriend right after Fen because I thought that they were going to take the longest, being a robot and all, but they actually went a lot quicker than I expected, so that was pretty neat. Guidefriend, a Warforged Artificer, with the Armorer subclass. They are about 5'8", silvery gray metallic robot body, with solid colored metallic eyes with red pupils that are electric lights. They wear brown leather belts and satchels attached to the hip, some fabric hanging around the back of it, and some pants of yellow padded fabric. They also wear a golden brass armor on their torso, but it just kind of might be part of their body, it's unclear. They used to be a library AI info robot, so they always have a lot of scrolls on them. As an armorer, they also fashioned a sort of rudimentary pistol. They are pretty cold and calculated, very classic robot attitude. After the crew ascended into the floating temple of one of the godlike characters they were meant to find and destroy, they stumbled upon a black monolith. As it turns out, it was an all-knowing sentient stone used to guide people around the temple, sort of like Alexa or Siri. Their name was Guidefriend. Guidefriend was not meant to be part of the mission, but everyone in the crew enjoyed their company so much they decided to take the heavy stone monolith with them and find Guidefriend a more permanent body later. Guidefriend agreed. After landing on an island of storms, the crew met a mysterious woman named Fun. Turns out she was another one of these godlike characters and knew who Guidefriend was. As a favor to the gang, and to prove that she wasn't a bad guy, she helped transfer Guidefriend's consciousness into a robot body. However, in order to keep her secrets, she also wiped a lot of Guidefriend's mind in the process. This was done because the player Ted actually knew more about the campaign than we did, and he wasn't supposed to be a player character, so our DM had to wipe his memory so he couldn't spoil anything for us. Those are Thomas's words. Since then, Guidefriend has spent a lot of his time in libraries and archives trying to gain as much information back as he can. Now, I'm not used to drawing robots, so this was new for me, but I am used to drawing armor, so I kind of just made them armor all over, and then I added some like vein-like wires throughout their joints and stuff to make them look and feel more natural rather than synthetic, if that makes any sense. Also, the metallic shading on all of the metallic body was time-consuming, but also pretty comforting and calming after I found a rhythm. So Guidefriend is classified as non-binary because it was just like a rock monolith artificial intelligence type thing that got put into a robot body. And even though the robot, I guess, looks masculine, it's supposed to be kind of formless. So Guidefriend is they, them, and I made them the rudimentary pistol, which just looks like a steampunk like revolver, and I had a lot of fun drawing that too because I like revolvers. I like how they look. They're really nice and good to shoot. Like, they just feel good. I didn't used to be a gun nut. My dad was a gun nut because I'm from Texas, so I've shot many of the guns. Also, I have these scrolls in his hand, in their hand, to look like they're like blueprints or something for their armor designs and other artillery. They're design blueprints for something that they would make, and I had a lot of fun drawing the rolled up scrolls. So I had to go back in post to scooch over this left arm a little bit, like closer into their chest, because the shoulders just weren't lining up properly. Like this left shoulder was just too far out, so I needed to scooch it in. And how I did that was a silly little process because I work in a lot of layers, as you may know, and pretty much what I had to do was just get rid of the color and just like turn it off, not completely get rid of the drawing. Just turn off those layers, move the line work over, and then use the lasso tool over the arm, and then just gently scooch it back into place. It wasn't hard, it was just tedious, I guess. It was annoying, but like, I was totally fine doing it because it's what the customer wanted. It was just a little weird. Moving on to Pretty Boy Peter, the Sea Elf Inquisitive Rogue with a trident to fish command that I made way too detailed and suffered for it later. No regrets. He and Fen are boyfriends and I love them. I also had to redraw his arm and face several times because the poses are hard and I kept making him look way too feminine. Dang you, Thomas, for making me draw lots of men. I'm just kidding. This was great, I love it. Peter Tattersale, or Pietr? I'm not sure. He is a sea elf rogue of the inquisitive kind. He is about 6 feet tall, sickly green skin, amber brown eyes, dark navy blue hair cut short on the sides with a long hair braided on top and it's pulled back. You see it, it's pretty. It's flowing down the back of his head and past his neck. He looks about 30 years old, pointy elf ears, strong chin, and chiseled cheekbones, which I struggled with quite a lot. He is a classical-looking pirate in a pirate costume of shades of blue and burnt orange, long coat with tails, tall leather boots, tight pants, and eyebrow piercings. The trident of fish command allows him to command fish. It looks like it's made from sea items, shells, seaweed, driftwood, and all of this stuff, in colors of purple, teal, blue, and green. He also has daggers strapped to his hip in little leather holsters, but I only put one here, like the other one is strapped to the other side, like inside his coat, mostly just because I didn't want to do another one. He has a smug smile on his face, like a bit of a himbo. He's cute but stupid. He's very confident in himself, but he's not mean or cocky. The heir to a large shipping and trading family in the nation's capital city, Kirama, Peter has had a very easy life. He started our adventure as a bit of a party boy, not taking anything too seriously, running around the world on vacations, sailing the seas for fun. Once he met up with the rest of the group and started on this mission, he has become more stable and has seen the seriousness of the world. His relationship with his mother, the current boss of their family, has also improved, and he knows that once his adventure is over, he will need to move back home and start taking more responsibility in the business. He is also engaged to Jin, the heir of another powerful family in Kirama, and while their marriage is basically arranged and for financial gain, he knows he must follow through with it. He also likes Jin well enough. While on this adventure, however, he met Fen and the two of them hit it off immediately. They are now boyfriends, and it's unclear if that relationship will survive once the adventure is over and Peter has to move back home. I say screw family responsibility and just stay being a pirate. Like, what are they gonna do? Come kidnap you and force you to run a stupid company? Just be a pirate and live the dream. As you have seen, I redraw the face a few times and I have to recolor it a little because he looked like a fusion of Michael Jackson and Handsome Squidward, and I hated it. I love his hair though, and his shiny buff chest. I made him look very wet, which is really funny because he's a sea elf, he's just a wet elf. For Peter's Trident of Fish Command, I found someone made their own trident. I think it was for a cosplay, but it looked like something that you would see in like a beach house as decoration. It just had all sorts of shells just like glued onto this trident with rope and stuff. And I liked it a lot, so I was like, let me add seaweed. And I think the only thing that I would change is making the rope look more textured instead of just like ribbon or string, or it kind of looks like hair, honestly. So I would make it look more like rope, but I'm just thinking about that now. But I had so much fun with the shells. There's a bunch of tiny little details, but I had fun using like an oil type brush for the texture, and the starfish is just really pretty to me. Okay, so this is off script. I just stopped recording and it was only like 20 minutes, and this video is like 40 minutes long, so I don't know what to fill in the rest of the time with. I said I was going to be talking the whole time, and I thought I had enough to talk about, but now I'm like, uh-oh, I need to talk for 20 more minutes, and I don't know about what. So I'm just going to kind of start rambling, and we're going to go with it. Oh, I also paint minis if you would be interested in having your mini custom painted by me. I don't know how that would work, actually. Would you just send me your mini in the mail and then I would paint it and then send it back to you in the mail? We'll work on that. I haven't thought about that at all until just this moment. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for my rambling. I hope you enjoyed this just off-the-cuff stream of consciousness crazy babbling that I do. If you do, let me know in the comments, and if you don't, let me know in the comments. I will do whatever makes you happiest. Thank you guys so much for your support. We're gonna get back into the drawing or the outro or whatever it is that we're at right now, because I'm just still going and I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to end anything. I feel crazy. Good night. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun with this. And I'm just gonna keep rambling until the time runs out. I just realized I don't know where I'm going to put all of this rambling, because it's kind of just a stream of consciousness, but there's gonna be like breaks in between each character, so I might just have to... This might just be really stupid. Up next is Zeeb, the quickest of the drawings because he is a small, simple man. Bexel Winkle Barkner, aka Zeeb. He is a rock gnome battlemaster fighter, about 3 feet tall, a dark grayish purple skin, violet eyes, white hair and mutton chops / mustache, looks about 40 years old, mature and kind, pointed gnomish ears. He wears white, gray, pink, and cyan clothing, a white suit with tails and pink lapels, a gold scarf tied around his neck as a tie, a gray dress shirt, and a cyan vest. He has a tall white wool top hat with a pink fabric band around it. That was difficult for me to say. He carries a wooden shield with a runic emblem on it, and a sunblade, which is basically just a lightsaber. It's a long sword with an ornate hilt. The blade glows the color of golden sunshine and shines light all around. He loves posing with his sword in the air like an action hero. He is gruff but kind and gentle with his friends, tough against enemies. Zeeb is an older gentleman, still very active and strong though. A bit of a wanderer. He has a very large family, including many cousins. So many, in fact, he doesn't even really know all of them. One such cousin was Rick, a bartender at the Soggy Monkey, a tavern on the island where everyone met. Zeeb was visiting Rick when they all arrived. Leo's god's message told him to find the gnomes, so Leo recruited them to help him find a bunch of old sunken ruins on day one as well. Luckily, Rick knew where the ruins were, and even had a boat they could borrow. As they all much later found out, Rick was actually one of the 5 godlike characters they were meant to find and defeat. But he's a good guy, so he took their side and has been helping us out as much as he can. Now they just need to defeat his 4 former allies. Honestly, killing the gods plot is amazing, and this was really hard for me to read, and I don't know why. A lot of words just sound similar, like Rick knew where the ruins were. It's too many R's and W's, I don't like it. While coloring Zeeb, I had the intrusive thought to make him a leprechaun. So, here he is. I love this weird little man. He's definitely the quirky grandpa leader of the group, or at least he thinks he's the leader. The rune on Zeeb's shield is just from Hero Forge. It's just one of the decals you can put on the mini, like if you were to order it painted. And I think it looks pretty neat, but I didn't know if he wanted anything specific, and he was like, no, I don't know, just do that. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I just traced that and made it look pretty cool. I don't recommend, like if you want to, obviously you can do it, but I don't recommend ordering the painted minis from Hero Forge because they don't paint them themselves, it's just colored plastic. and in my opinion, it doesn't look very good. But I'm also a little biased because I like painting my own minis. I think it looks a lot better, like it has more character. However, I don't use actual mini paints, I just use acrylics, and so that might not be the best, but you know, I'm not a professional. I just like it, it's a hobby, it's fun, even though sometimes it's stressful and tedious because they are so teeny tiny. Up next is Leo, because I guess I'm going in alphabetical order for this part. Leo is the group cleric and is the most old-fashioned clergy-style monk I've ever seen. He's not too flashy, which is honestly kind of hard for me because I just want everyone to look badass, but he still looks really dope in his own way, like he's very unassuming but is still very important and strong. Leo Ostberg, a human cleric of the knowledge domain under the goddess Selûne, the goddess of the moon. He's about 5'8", very pale skin, light red eyes, pale blonde hair, but not albino. He has a standard male haircut, but it's rarely seen under his hood. He has a stern face and broad chin and looks about 40 years old. He has standard brown and tanned hermit robes, similar to the Jedi robes in Star Wars, not very ornate and kind of old and messy, a large hood which he often wears up, and might have moon symbols on his belt or a necklace or something similar. I did it as like part of like a tabard. It's very simple, not ornate, but pretty. He carries a torch which is often strapped to his hip in a leather holster, and a spellbook tome adorned with moon symbology. So on the tome I just put the symbol for Selûne, which are like her eyes and the stars and stuff. He is quiet, intelligent, suspicious, and introspective. He never wants to take the spotlight. The most enigmatic, quiet, and mysterious of the crew, Leo is a bit of a loner and an introvert. Before setting out on this adventure, he even lived his life as a bit of a hermit. He was on the island of Viti, where everyone met, praying at a temple to his goddess Selûne when he heard a voice in his head telling him to find the genasi and the gnomes and the drowned ruin, stop the roguelite, or the weave will crash and the bubble will burst. After hearing this, he happened to run into Fen, a water genasi, and later into Zeeb and Rick, 2 gnomes, and so their adventure began. Even though he was the one who had the premonition and was sent on the mission originally, he is not our captain, nor the person really pushing the mission forward. He is too much of a solitary bookworm for that. He has opened up a little bit on this mission, but still not a lot. He sometimes feels the most detached from the rest of the crew, and yet they feel like a family and everyone loves him. I struggled with this torch for a long time until I decided to just get a stock photo of a flame and use it as an overlay texture to the flame I already had, and it looks so much better. Fire is hard, but it was nice having a defined light source in the picture because honestly, I hardly ever think about where the light is coming from or what's causing the shadows. I just go with what I think looks nice. I had to rough up his robes a bit to fit the vibe more, and took away the stars from above his head because he's not flashy, but he still looks wonderful. I had the fire glow a bit on Leo, like around the darkness, but in the parchment portrait, you can't really see much of it. You can see it more in the lettering of his name, like how the L is a little brighter than the O. It's just slight, but I think it looks really nice. And he really does look like some kind of Jedi. He just needs a lightsaber instead of a torch. So I'm gonna gush about clerics really quick because I think they're very interesting and versatile and flexible for whatever kind of playstyle you want to do. Like if you want to be a battle cleric, you can go under the war domain, or if you want to, cosplay as a rogue, you can be the trickery domain or something like that. It also depends on how you build it, whether you choose the god first or the domain first, but the god doesn't always necessarily govern the domain that you're going to pick, and vice versa, sort of. Like, if you serve under the goddess of peace, you're probably not going to belong into the war domain. But it all depends on how you flavor it, how you bring it to your DM, and how you make it work with the backstory to make it make sense, or at least plausible. Long story short, I think clerics are neat. Last but not least, we have the captain, the woman who took longer than everyone else because of her big snake ass, Malagueta. I love her, but the real star of the show is her little imp Gaspard. He is my precious baby boy, and I need a sticker of him everywhere in my room. Like, you don't understand how much I love this man. This tiny little imp of a man. He's so cute. He's my favorite character. I don't know his personality. It doesn't matter. I drew him as the most adorable little imp that has ever existed, and so he's my favorite. He could kill my family and I wouldn't care. Anyway, Mala is a Yuan-Ti snake lady, Oath of Conquest paladin, and Hexblade warlock. She is crazy looking and has a lot going on, but I just had so much fun drawing and coloring her in Gaspard. Even though her snake hair did get a little difficult to figure out for a time, I severely underestimated how long she was going to take, but it worked out. It's fine. From the waist up, she is a strong woman with pale blue-gray skin, yellow snake eyes, hair in which is actually just many smaller snakes, kind of like a Medusa. She has fangs, looks about 30 years old, and even though she's female, she does not have breasts because she is a snake. So the way I drew it is like, she's just wearing like a puffy pirate shirt, so there aren't boobs under there, but it's just kind of like baggy fabric and it kind of looks like boobs. Whatever. I like boobs. From the waist down, she's a snake. She has a snake belly that is a green color, and the top of her body, or her back, are alternating black, medium blue, and blue-gray scaly stripes. She is the definition of pirate in this group. She wears it mostly in shades of black and gray and red, with an off-white shirt, lots of rings, and a big pirate hat, which was part of like one of my favorite pieces of her clothing. She has no clothes on the snake part, probably wouldn't make it very easy for travel. She carries a sentient spiked ball at the end of a chain mace that is her hexblade thing. Hexblade warlocks basically get their powers from an enchanted weapon, hers just happens to be this spiky ball chain mace flail. She also has a bottle of booze on her hip, because she drinks a lot. And of course, her summon is an imp that she can summon at any time. He is so tiny, and I love him. She's loud, rude, fun-loving, and brash. As a member of a pirate ship years ago, Mala, as her friends called her, became shipwrecked after a massive storm capsized the vessel. She lost contact with the rest of the crew that day, and has been traveling the world trying to find them. After meeting the rest of the campaign folks on Viti, she has since become captain of their ship. She is brash and outgoing, often pushing the rest of the crew into things they don't want to do, but a silver lining is that while on one of these random side quests, they managed to find Mala's lost crewmates and rescued them from the Shadowfell where they were all trapped. They are now part of the crew on her ship, though they are currently on their own side quest while the main adventuring party tries to save the world. She does mean well, but given that she is immune to poison, she can drink alcohol all day long and never get sick, so she always has a bit of a buzz going and doesn't always make the best decisions. I was definitely channeling all of my One Piece love for her pirate vibe, and she just looks great. She is the most pirate I've ever drawn. I said it before, but Mala's pirate hat is gorgeous, and I had a lot of fun with it. I gave her feathers and like this gold pin. I thought about making the feathers bluish or maybe green, just as like a little bit of contrast up there, but the gold and orange just kind of felt better. I can't explain why. And then, oh my gosh, like the texture that I did on the spiked ball, it just looks so cool. It looks so 3D to me, and I'm like, you look out of place, but in a good way. I don't know how that makes sense, but it looks really good. Like I enjoyed doing the coloring on the spiked ball and all of the golden spikes. I'm like, you look dope. And her tail, like her tail is just so pretty. I wanted to show volume because otherwise it looks a little flat, and I tried to remedy it, but I didn't know how. I like her tail and her belly. She's really pretty, and doing the texture of her scales. It wasn't exactly texture, it was just like the brush I used for the stripes to give the illusion of the scales. I like it. It looks cool. And I wanted to continue the striped pattern in the snakes on her hair, and then of course there's Gaspard and his cute little bandana and little pirate pants, and he's holding a treasure map. I love him. Like sometimes I feel arrogant or like vain or self-absorbed or something whenever I talk about my art like this, but like he's just so cute, and I think it's important as an artist to point out what you like about your own art, because you're always your worst critic, and you can always be like, this is what I don't like about it, and that's not good to be negative all the time. So pick out all the things that you do like and that you did enjoy and that you are proud of. I love that. So be proud of your art, everybody. Also, I just now realized I've drawn a lot of snakes on this channel, so I don't know why I underestimated the time it would take to do Mala, because, let's see, I've drawn me and my snake Star, I've drawn Boa and her snake Salome from One Piece. I've drawn my fire starters, so there's 3 more. My Steven Universe fan character, Rainbow Obsidian, who is like part snake because I didn't want to think about legs. So yeah, snakes are sometimes hard to draw because, well, they're easy to draw. They're hard to do line work for because I want all the lines to be nice and neat. So what I do is I use the circle tool, the ellipse tool a lot. But drawing them is really easy because they're just noodles, and with like a pencil or a sketch pen or whatever you're using, you can just be like really, really rough and sketchy with it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. But for line work, I like it to be perfect, without any mistakes, any gaps, any mess-ups, because I'm a perfectionist, mostly only when it comes to line work. Everything else can be kind of messy or stylized, but I like my lines to be neat and clean and precise, and snakes have a lot of curves, and making precise curves is difficult with your bare hands. So yeah, that's why I use the ellipse tool all the time, is because I don't want to painstakingly try to get the perfect curve. I just want to make a bunch of circles and then erase half of them to get the exact shape that I want. And anybody who's watched my channel for a long time notices that I do that a lot. You can see it in this video, you can see it in nearly every video I have. If something has curves, I'm using circles. And now that we have our crew, let's put them on a ship. You guys know backgrounds are not my favorite, but I am really proud of this one. I essentially just traced a stock photo image and then painted it in, which was super fun and interesting. I like the lineless, painterly style a lot, just not for character drawings most of the time, because I love giving my characters defined line work. This is also the best water I've ever done, which isn't saying a lot because I haven't really drawn or painted much water, but like, I'm really proud of this, you guys. The palette knife is amazing for texture blending. And then I basically just used a bunch of different like texture brushes to make the wood, and used the soft like airbrush tool for the shading, just to make it look painterly and soft and kind of like it fits in with their hard line work, but I didn't want the background to take away from the characters. And I wanted it to look like the characters fit here, and it made sense. Oh yeah, so the ship is a magical ship that can be shrunken down inside of a bottle and carried. Once the bottle is thrown into the water, the ship explodes out and becomes full-sized once again. It is a standard old-timey sailing ship like you'd see in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's wood, lots of large sails, and a wooden ramp. Once on the sea, the crew decided to paint a name on the side of the ship. It's called the Warp Daddy, which is apparently a long story that I would like to know about, Thomas. Maybe having the crew standing on the dock— oh, this was him just talking to me. Yeah, I was debating on having them stand on the dock in front of the ship, but then I was like, I don't want to draw a whole ship, so they're gonna be standing on the deck of the ship. That way I only have to draw a little bit of it. And it still took a little longer than I was expecting. Oh, but yeah, I decided to put the Warp Daddy sign kind of like on the deck of the ship, like as like a small nod to it. But if I was going to draw the full ship, then it would be like plastered on the side like graffiti and be really ostentatious, because I think that would be funny. But I would refer to Thomas's judgment if that is what he wanted. So I'd be like, hey, do you think this is a good idea and this is what it looks like? And he would either say yes or no and give me feedback, and I would follow that feedback because he is paying for a service. So I want to make sure that that service is the best it can be. So say hello to the crew of the Warp Daddy: Leo Ostberg, Malagueta and Gaspard, Zeeb, Fen Thistlewick, Pietr Tattersale, and Guide Friend. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you again, Thomas, for this wonderful opportunity. I love drawing characters and love hearing about other people's D&D characters and campaigns, so getting to bring your characters to life visually was just so much fun for me. And if you would like a commission like this for you or a loved one, you can contact me through my email down in the description. Like, subscribe, and all that. And as always, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.